According to CareerBuilder, nearly 70% of candidates determine their expected future treatment by a company based on their candidate experience in the hiring process. On Let's Talk today, the topic is how candidate experience affects recruiting funnel. Hello and welcome to Let's Talk on DNT Work. My name is Olujo Kemosaku and my guest is Mr. Michael Etukudoh, a global technical recruiter and candidate experience champion. But before we delve into the program proper, I'd like to remind you, as usual, to please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on all of our social media platforms. Until then, please enjoy the ride with us. Thank you so much, Mr. Itsukudo, for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jackie.
Yes. So, what is candidate experience and recruiting funnel?
Okay, so candidate experience is how a job seeker basically perceive a company after going through their interview process. This basically starts from the job description to the interview process and then to the follow-up communication. That's what candidate experience is about basically. It's the perception that the candidate gets after going through your interview process.
Okay. So, what about recruiting funnel? What is that?
Yeah, a recruiting funnel is a framework that defines the stages of the recruitment process from start to finish. The journey starts from, awareness basically, and narrows down to the point where the candidate is actually hired. The goal of the funnel is basically, to narrow down candidates from the first stage of the process up to the point where, the company finally decides to hire one of the candidates.
So why does a company actually need a recruiting funnel? Before HR services, there was a way they were doing it. So what changed?
It is very important because, again, the overall goal of the recruiting funnel is to create an effective, scalable and systematic process for attracting, nurturing, and hiring talent. That way, you are able to build like a strong workforce that can help you grow your company. But more specifically, the importance to companies is about helping you break down your recruitment process into different stages. That way you are able to, take like a deep dive to, come up with strategies, goals, and action to help you optimize each of those processes. Another one will be about optimizing each stage of the hiring process in order to improve the overall experience. Because when you tailor down on each of these, stages, you are able to be more intentional in terms of, creating a very good experience for candidates. Another importance for companies is basically the fact that it helps them, it provides insights, for them to be able to insight into the time and the money that they spend, so that they are able to invest more into the areas that are giving them, more outputs, and then they can maximize return on investment, basically. The last one I'd like to talk about is about improving communication, because when we are going through the recruiting process, there are a lot of stakeholders involved, so just having a recruiting funnel makes it clear to everyone within, the company or all the major stakeholders, they are very clear in terms of what are the different stages or what's the process if we need to hire a candidate within the company. So that's like, some key importance, for, why companies should have recruiting funnel.
Okay. Now, from everything you've explained, I'm sure there will be some stages to how recruiting funnel work. So now, what are the stages? Please explain in detail.
Okay. So there are five major stages of the recruiting funnel. Even though, there are some. If you go online, some people will have it at 7. But I think this 5 basically captures the stages. Number 1 is about awareness. Awareness is focusing on employer branding as a whole, like I talked about, which is about companies focusing a lot of attention on their career sites and their social media pages, because that's an avenue for them to talk about their workplace culture, to demonstrate their values, to convince potential applicants about why they should work for them. And also, it gives them an opportunity to talk about their perks and benefits. So that's, basically the first stage, which is awareness again. And then the second stage talks about attraction. So attraction is at the stage where, we are trying to source. And for us to start sourcing, we need to have like a job description. The job description is the first touch point of contact, between the company and potential candidates. Attraction means that you need to make the job description very compelling for interested applicants, and should be able to spark interest about why they should work for you, and should also be inclusive, so it's not gender biased. You are conscious about the kind of language you are using, so that you are not excluding some, classes of people, from applying. So that's the second stage. The third stage, is about the application process. This stage, essentially aims to generate the highest volume of, qualified applicants, and ultimately reduce the number of dropouts. So during the application stage, you want to be sure that your application process is very seamless and you are reducing the number of clicks. I mean, this is something I find common, especially with local brands, where they would give you a form to fill, and you are basically repeating almost everything that you have on your profile. For some other companies that are more conscious about the experience they create for their candidates, you see them just ask basic things: your name, your email address, and just few questions. The idea is limit the number of clicks a candidate will have to go through before they submit an application on your website. And then the other one I want to talk about in terms of application is you need to ensure that your website, your career page, and your entire website is mobile friendly. I mean, it's no longer news that a lot of applicants are applying through their mobile devices. So just imagine the kind of experience you are creating for candidates if your website or your career pages are not optimized for mobile. It means that they have to be dragging, from one part of the screen to the other to click on next steps and all of that. So that's why it is very important that we are conscious of this stage, the application stage. And the first stage is the selection stage, which involves shortlisting candidates, the interview process, and then the assessment. The goal here is ultimately to narrow down potential candidates, for each step. So as we go further down the pipeline, you see that, we are having fewer candidates because you have sealed out, a couple of them of the process. Then the last one is the hiring stage. The hiring stage is the final stage of the, recruitment funnel, which talks about making an offer to the candidate. In making an offer to the candidate, you need to be conscious that you have factored in everything that you've discussed with the candidates. So I've had an instance. In fact, it happened to me like some time ago in my, in one of the companies I interviewed with, where we had discussed, an offer, and at the end of the day, what they gave me was less than what we had discussed. So we had discussed an amount that was supposed to be a net, amount, which I made clear, during the interview process. But it was surprising when they sent the offer, they factored everything and made it gross. And I'm like, it kind of gave me some kind of impression about the company. At the end of the day, I didn't take the offer. I moved on because I didn't feel like I want to work for a company that would discuss A and they want to do B. The second part I want to talk about in terms of the hiring process is that, we need to be, as a HR professional or as a business owner, you want to be open to negotiate, because, candidates will come back and say, oh, I had initially thought this was going to be enough, but for some reason, I factored factors X, Y, Z into this offer, and I feel like I want to negotiate it upward. So as a company, you need to be open to negotiation, especially when you find the ideal candidate, because again, you've gone through this process only to, to pick out who you think is most ideal to deliver value to your company. So when you get to that point, don't be shy to negotiate it, because you feel like, this person is going to add one way or the other, is going to add to the bottom line. And then the last thing I want to talk about in terms of hiring is that you need to establish like the limit for your salary band, because some candidates, especially the ones that you are really good at, you want to hire, would sometimes ask for a salary that is above the salary range. So establish what limit you can go above that range, so that you still keep your structure in place and you don't cause chaos within the system. So those are the stages, just to reiterate. The first one is awareness, the second one is attraction, the third one is application, the fourth one is selection, and the fifth one is the hiring process.
Thank you so much for that. Let's quickly go on this break. We will be right back. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, the program is Let's Talk on DNT Work, and I've been speaking with Mr. Michael Etukudoh. He is a global technical recruiter and candidate experience champion. Of course, we know what we've been discussing about candidate experience, how it affects a recruiting funnel, and he has really did wonders with the breakdown, because I know that things are happening and things are changing. So we need to actually evolve if we want to actually get the best of it all. Now, Mr. Michael, thank you for standing by. It's nice having you around again. Now that we have an understanding of recruiting funnel, how does candidate experience affect it?
The candidate experience affects the recruiting funnel directly, in a lot of ways. But I mean, just beyond talking about the impact it has on the funnel, I think I also want to go further to talk about how it ultimately affects the company. Because, I mean, we all know that and there are statistics online, that shows that, when people have bad experiences, they won't come back to, apply to that company. They will tell their families, their friends about the kind of experience. And I have like a real case study, by the way. So a friend of mine got affected by one of the layoff happening, recently. And then I was following up with him, last week to say, oh, I mean, you told me you had an interview with some company. How did the interview go? And he went about talking about how he felt that interview was a waste of his time because, I mean, the interviewer was, very demeaning on the call, asking me irrelevant questions. We're not willing to answer his question. I mean, I'm saying all of this to show you that, I mean, when people are dissatisfied, they tell people, they tell their friends, they tell their colleagues, and they would not. And he particularly told me that if they make him an offer, even with all of this, he's going to turn it down. So it shows the impact it can have, on your future recruiting. So it means that the kind of people you would ideally want to come and work for you will not be interested, in your company anymore because they've had like terrible experiences, in the past. They would tell their friends, and their friends will also not want to work for a very shitty company. So that's the ultimate impact, the ultimate negative impact. So it limits the number of qualified candidates that goes through your funnel because they've heard about stuff. And of course, we know these days everything is online. A lot of people are quick to, either tweet it or go to their LinkedIn page or give feedback on Glassdoor, about how they felt, going through your interview process. So people are going to talk about it, and it's going to affect like their brand positioning in the market. People are going to go online, before they take your offer, they will want to go online and check, oh, what are people saying about this company? So ultimately, it has, impact on the brand of the company. And then the second one I want to talk about, which I've mentioned, is that a lot of candidates will not apply, they will not reapply to your company if they've had like, a bad experience at the first time they applied. They will not apply. And most times, their friends will not apply as well. Their family members will not apply. The kind of people that will apply are people that they probably do not have a choice, and they might not fit into the ideal candidate you are looking for that role. So that's another impact it has on the recruiting funnel. There might be loss of revenue because sometimes the people that interview as candidates can also be customers to a certain brand. So just imagine I'm a candidate, I've gone through your process, and I feel like, I mean, you guys, give me like a very bad experience. I mean, it's just common sense that I would not want to patronize you because I feel like, you guys didn't respect my time. you guys made me feel bad. You guys, you did everything wrong, at that point. So it has a direct impact on revenue. And I think there was a research done by Virgin, where they asked candidates about, if they had like bad experiences, would they patronize their business? And the result came back, and I think about 70% said they are not going to recommend, they will stop using the brand and they will recommend to their friend not to use the brand as well. So that's like the impact, the indirect impact it has on the company, because, it then affect the revenue. The other thing that comes to mind is hiring costs, would increase, because when you have a lot of people that are not qualified in the pipeline, it means to take a long time for you to close that role, so the longer it takes, the longer it is costing the business money, because there's a cost, an indirect cost that that is just there, because this role has been open. That role was created to fill a gap within the company, which of course ties to the goal of the company, ties to the bottom line. So if the role is kept vacant for a long time, it has impact on cost for the company. And then the last one would be the increasing quality of who you eventually recruit, because as a recruiter, as a hiring manager, management are continuously will continuously wondering why this role has been open for a very long time. And if you begin to get pressure from senior management about why have you not filled this role, why have you not hired for this role, there's a tendency that at some point some managers might just make a rush decision and just pick anyone, because they are just trying to close up the role and avoid the issues with management. So this can be another effect where you just make a rush decision and hire someone that you typically will not hire, just because you don't have a lot of qualified people within the pipeline. So that is the impact that I think about right now, of how a bad experience can affect the recruiting funnel. Of course, on the positive side, there's that the reverse is the case, where if I have a very good experience as a candidate, I am able to recommend my friends. I'm able to tell my friends, and I've seen this a lot, where candidates that have undergone interview processes, some of the companies I've worked are willing to recommend others, even though they don't get the opportunity to pass the interview stages. They're always willing to recommend their friends, because they feel like they enjoy the experience. They feel like this company is very intentional about the kind of experience it's giving its candidates. Yeah, so that's what I would say.
Thank you so much. Now, please give us a brief a breakdown of the kind of candidates you come across and how it has impacted you or challenged you.
So there are a couple of candidates I've come across that can be very challenging, because I work within the engineering recruiting space. I recruit for both business and technical roles, but I did a lot with technical roles. One of the key challenges that you find is that with engineers, there are a whole set of different breed, because sometimes they are very difficult. First of all, we know that they are scarce, but when you are lucky enough to speak to a few of them that you think meet all the requirements you need for a certain role, sometimes you will experience some that you would have scheduled an interview, for example, with a candidate. You've discussed with the hiring manager to say, oh, this is a candidate I think, would do well in this interview process. And then you schedule the interview, you had an agreement with the candidate about the time, you set a calendar invite, and the candidate would not just show up for that interview. That's one of the many experiences I think I've seen a lot, which I think is very wrong and very immature. Because I feel like at some point, if you are no longer interested, either because you've gotten some other offer, I think the mature thing to do would be for you to do me an email, would be for you to do me an SMS, would be for you to call me and say, oh, hi, Michael, unfortunately, something came up. I just picked up a new offer, which of course some other candidates do. But, I think there's still some gap area with some, talent, where they don't reach out to you. They just ghost you, and you just wondering, just make you feel like, what went wrong. You just be wondering what probably, went wrong, and, why they are no more available. And the hiring manager will feel like, well, you told me this guy was available. I don't know what happened along the line. So that's one of the experience I think, candidate need to be, to take caution with, because I mean it's not a good experience for recruiters. The other one is about scarcity. There's a general scarcity in terms of quality of talent. We have a lot of job seekers, but the people that you would actually need, for your team are quite few. So there's the issue of scarcity. So you have to do a lot of search. You have to do a lot of work to ensure that are attracting, the kind of people into the pipeline, which is why it is very important that companies are saying the right things on their website. They are, talking a lot about their culture, because for a lot of qualified, candidates, they are interested in those kind of conversations. When I speak with candidates, I'm trying to woo them to join an organization. They are asking me questions around what kind of culture do they have, what are their values, all those kind of stuff. So, I mean, it's important that companies are continuously doing a lot around their, their branding, so that they can get to attract more qualified candidates into the pipeline. And we also know that, I mean, 70% of the kind of people you are looking for are not searching for a job. They're already on their job. They are passively searching. So if, you are not intentional in terms of reaching out to these people or getting your internal employees to maybe refer their friends, you lose out on a whole chunk of people or candidates that typically will suit your culture or have the right skill that you need. So that's another thing I think, I want to talk about. What other challenges do I see? There's a lot of competition within the market, a challenge within the space that I play in, where you make an offer to a candidate this month and you are planning into the future with this candidate, feeling like, oh, maximum, this guy should be able to give me a minimum of one year. But you'll be surprised that, and it has happened, within my experience, where you bring in an engineer or you bring in a staff, within the next 2 months, they're tendering their resignation because another company has come on board and offered them something, way more than what you are offering. And the last one I'll talk about will be maybe from the hiring manager standpoint. Sometimes some hiring managers can be very picky, so you interviewed and pass along, maybe say 3 qualified candidates to the hiring manager, or they are the final stage, and the hiring manager goes, I think we could get a better candidate. Can we speak to more candidates? And you're like, I mean, everything that we wanted to check for each of these candidates, we have in these 3 candidates. But some hiring managers will still want to insist, to see more candidates, and thereby making the process really long, So these are some of the challenges that, I can remember right now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Etukudoh. It's been wonderful having you on the show. Do you have any final word?
So my final word is, I mean, right now, I think a lot of people have been laid off. I would say that, I mean, it's a trying time for everyone. I'll say continue, keep the good spirit, apply as much as possible, talk to family and friends, reach out to your network to see if you get other opportunities. And I hope that, very soon you get back on your feet. Thank you.
Thank you so much once again. And to you out there, thank you too for being part of the show. And in case you've not upgraded yourself, you've not added value to yourself so that you'll be employable, you need to do so that you can actually get the job of your choice, of your dream, actually. Until next time, when I come your way again with another exciting topic, I remain Uluja Kemasa. Goodbye for now.